Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Allie, and welcome to this fun mushroom oracle question and answer session and mini readings with Nicole Lynn. I'm excited to have you all here, and this is going to be an interactive time. We make it fun, and we'll have a mix of asking Nicole questions and then kind of add in some mini readings during the time. So I'll turn it over to Nicole for now.
Thanks, Allie. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to have this surprise party with all of you with Mushroom Medicine Oracle. That's what Spirit told me it was going to be this morning, is just look at it as a surprise party and a celebration. And so that's exactly how I feel in my heart, and my inner child is definitely here and cannot wait to play with all of you. I have no idea how many of you actually have the deck and if you're playing with it. Or those of you that are just curious about it or know me personally. But whatever has had you arrive and land here in this hour, just know that it means a lot to me in my heart. I've had a lot of support during the creation of this. As soon as I got the download that it was going to be an Oracle deck, and each of you that are here, like Todd, I don't know you as well, but I can just feel this really deep heart resonance. And so I extend that to you as well with gratitude. So I just want us to kind of create a cohesive space together. And so you can close your eyes if you want to, you don't have to, but I'm going to for a moment. And I'm just going to invite us to soften and let our bodies land in this moment. And just notice what you're carrying and what you're sensing and feeling in your body. And see if you can make contact with the chair you're sitting on, maybe your feet on the floor, maybe your breath, and of course, your precious heartbeat. And I'd like for us to imagine that we were walking through the woods. And as we're walking through the woods, we're noticing the mushrooms and the trees and the ferns and the moss and the stones. And maybe you're noticing some bird or animal sounds or wind. You can start to become aware of the time of day it is and the temperature. You can even look down at your legs and your feet and just notice what you're wearing. If you're walking barefoot, or if you have moccasins or some kind of sandal or shoe on or boot. And just start to become aware of these sensations of sight and sound and touch and feeling and smells. This magical forest is what brought us all together. This is what created the Mushroom Medicine Oracle deck. The forest is my closest companion. And if you're here, my guess is that you not only are a nature lover as well, but you too have sensed or felt or experienced the magic of the forest. And as you're walking through the forest and taking all of the senses, your sensory awareness in with you, I want you to imagine that you come to a clearing in this beautiful dense forest. And this is where you'll start to notice each of us coming out of the forest and into this beautiful clearing. It's a sacred grove in the middle of the forest. And maybe you can even imagine wildflowers or a fire pit or all of the above in this beautiful sacred grove. And know that your imagination, whatever you're sensing through this little mini meditation, it's personal. It's something that you conjured up from deep within you. And perhaps there's even nuggets of wisdom and things that you need. So anything that you saw or smelled or touched or sensed or felt, those are important clues. And so come and gather and sit in the sacred grove in a circle. And just take a moment to feel your body sitting there, feeling all the elements. And look around when you're ready at all the beautiful faces that are here. all the beautiful people that have come here to join in this hour together. And allow your heart to be filled with gratitude for the mushrooms and the mycelium, the fungi, because they are the ones that brought this whole thing about. And I couldn't have done it without the forest.
That was so beautiful, Nicole, thank you. So should we open it up if anyone has any questions about Nicole's process of how she created the mushroom deck or her relationship with the fungi? Does anyone have any questions?
We did get a few questions brought in, so Allie's going to read those. And also spontaneously, I'm going to do mini readings throughout this as well with the deck. But if anybody has anything to share, if you have the deck and you have a personal experience with how it's touching you in your life, I would love for you to unmute yourself and share for a moment or a question. I know it feels intimidating, like we're on the spot.
And maybe I can start with one of the questions that someone sent in first, just to start off with that. So someone asked, how would you describe your relationship with the fungi and how it evolved while creating the mushroom oracle deck? It's a big question.
Yeah, I had really no real relationship with the fungi. I knew of them and I thought they were fascinating and beautiful, but I didn't have a relationship. It wasn't reciprocal, which is how I would view a relationship. It was almost like I just would pass them by and be like, oh.
Oh, I think Nicole, you froze.
They were alive, and that, I know that seems so weird.
Nicole, you just froze for a minute, so maybe just back up like 30 seconds and just repeat that part if you don't mind.
Yeah, I never even knew that they were alive. I know that seems weird because all of nature is alive, and yet there was this taking them for granted.
Oh, it looks like we lost you again. Let's see if she'll come back on.
Now I walk with nature, and like I said, they're my friends and they're parts of myself and I'm parts of them. And there's such a deep reverence and respect. And I'm sure I'm still guilty of taking things for granted. But I really deeply try to land in my body and not. And it makes me very emotional to even talk about it, because it's, you know, when you go through your life feeling separate and carrying your prayers and your sorrows and all these things, and even playing alone, like if you're a child, or I mean, we're all children right now, so sometimes we're just like lonely. And so knowing that we are never alone and that all of nature are our friends, and I'm saying that with such a true, they love you more than you could ever imagine. And the way that you see a beautiful tree or sunrise or sunset, and you're just like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's what they see. That's you as well. And once you have that connection, you feel deeply connected again. It's as if you've been walking and living your life blind your whole life. So it's, I hope I said enough, but my relationship has really drastically changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that part about reciprocity and that they see us for who we are too, we often forget about that exchange. Mm-hmm. Let's see, does anyone else have a question for Nicole?
Or feedback? Okay, I'm going to call on someone and give a little reading. I feel like the mushroom cards want to wake up a little bit and join in. So I'm just asking right now, if anyone here is really highlighting a message that the mushrooms really want to share with our collective group, maybe at the end, excuse me, maybe at the end, I'll actually draw a card that illuminates the collective, but I almost want to keep that a secret right now. I don't know what it is either, but I'm asking the cards to just highlight if there's someone's vibration that's here right now calling out to the mushrooms that has a message for all of us. So even though it's going to be personal to the person I pick, it's actually not going to be. But it's something we all need to hear right now. If there was one really important message, I know that all cards there could be a message for, but I am asking for the, oh, I'll get with you in 1 minute. 1 minute, got a hand up. Okay. All right, Zoe. I am calling on you and the mushrooms, and we're just gonna go ahead and see what the collective energy is. We got the honey mushrooms. Love. Perfect for those of us or those of you that celebrate any kind of reference to Valentine's Day. So just the key words for us to hold into our heart and breathe into our beingness right now as a collective is love, full expression, and trust. Those are big, big words that if you just meditated on one of those, or all three of them, but if you just sank into your body and meditated on that and allowed things within you to awaken and show you not only the places where you are still separating yourself from those things, where you still are holding pain, but also those places where you are deeply trusting and connected and in your full expression of love. And so just the little mini message on the card is love speaks in fullness, totality, for itself, and in infinite ways. What makes you not aware of your love or the love offered by others? Isn't this so funny? We were just talking about this with that first question with nature. So often we just go, we don't even know the love exchange that's always here. You can trust in love. Enjoy the feeling of trusting that love does not need to be questioned so much. You have done enough, dear one. Rest in this loving awareness. I mean, look at that. So I was in the forest and I'm walking and just imagine like you see the mushroom. Just imagine you see this growing out of a tree, and talk about the four directions and also, what I would consider the fifth, the central point that they all meet. It's just so cool. The sacred medicine wheel and all the elements, and yeah, pretty powerful. Well, thank you, Z. If you want to unmute yourself for a minute and just see if if there was anything that resonated with that message or how you feel from that.
I don't know how to begin. I've recently moved into a new space, and I really feel like it's a transition spot for me to unload some final stuff that's holding me back. And this just to like last night and this morning, I've been really feeling like it's going to be a place for me to fully expand, like the card says.
So breathe that in. That's
Full
confirmation. Huh?
expression. And what came to my mind too when you read the words was that that's a lot of times, I don't know, when growing up I felt like love didn't want the full expression because love was my parents or somewhat critical, but true love wants to fully express. So
Thank you.
yep.
And then Renee, it looks like your hand is up if you want to unmute yourself.
The rest in this loving awareness. Oh, how powerful. That speaks right directly. I feel like my heart's been activated for quite some time, but I feel like the truth that you speak through these cards is so profound and deeply affects who I am. Every day I hear about them, or today my card was ink cap. And thank you for being a teacher, and just thank you. So I just wanted you to know all of that, and hopefully I can make it through this whole thing. So I love you.
Thank you. You definitely belong. You have landed. You are in the right space within yourself, in your body, and in your emotions. And like your mushroom card of ink cap illuminates, it's the death and the rebirth, and where they unite. So thank you for that. Is there any other questions, Allie?
There are quite a few more questions. Well, I can ask one more. This is another big one. So this person asked, why is relationship with spirit important to you? And how can people begin to develop a connection with other dimensions and their souls?
It's my life's work. That's my life's work. So it almost feels naive, maybe is the word, arrogant sometimes. It almost feels that way to talk about, like, how do you develop a relationship with spirit? As if Nicole or anybody can tell you that, because it's so personal. And again, it's language. So if spirit doesn't resonate with your belief systems or body resonance, then that's okay. Swap out a different word. I have always had this plug-in, and I believe it came from trauma. So when you experience trauma, you disassociate and you go to a place that feels safe. And so for me, I believe, from what I can understand as of right now, that as a child became my safe place and my connection to source. I was a very highly sensitive, intuitive child. There was no names. Those names didn't exist when I was growing up in the 70s. And so people said, oh, she's just really sensitive, as if it was a bad thing. But the highly sensitive child didn't exist, right? Like there was no books and conversations about that I knew of, that my family knew of. And I would have deceased loved ones come to me, and I would, wake up my mother, and I would tell her, and then sure enough, they died the minute that they came to me in my dream world. Lots of psychic and spiritual phenomenon constantly happening that was provable. Either I wasn't alone having these experiences, and there was witnesses, which was very helpful too. I was raised in a home that, although some of this stuff seemed a little scary, because it was unknown, and like the Christian religion would have you more fear, like you could be opening yourself up to dark forces or something. So even though some of that was there and you could feel that, my mother was also very tapped in, and she couldn't use certain language because she didn't feel comfortable with it, but she would know that she was getting signs from what she would call God or whatever. So she had experiences with what you would call ghosts, and I had experiences, and so we could have some conversations. Nature was still my refuge. Even as a child, I was a tomboy. I have all brothers. I have no sisters. And so I was raised in a home. There's 6 of us children and 5 boys, and I'm smack in the middle. I've got 2 older and 3 younger. And I always lived in the country. And so I would play in the mud and climb trees and play army out in the woods and catch snakes and let them crawl all over me and catch frogs. And I was not afraid of getting dirty and playing rough and tough with the boys. But nature, there was this safety. Like even I remember playing hide and seek in the woods with all the boys, like my brothers and their friends. And a part of me wonders if they were playing army and they didn't want me to play army because I was a girl or whatever they thought. And so they would pretend we're playing hide and seek. I don't know if I'm making this up right now, but a part of me wonders because I would go and hide and nobody would ever come find me. And I would hear laughter and playfulness as if they were playing some game. And I would just be in a little deer nook. But I would play with the acorns and the stones and every little thing. And I would make little, I didn't even know they were like fairy homes or anything like that. I would just connect and play and build things. And I could sit there for hours. I also loved nooks. So I had a closet that was inside the wall, not from the walk-in, not from the ground, but like literally like a cubby inside the wall in my bedroom. And that was my nook. So I could go in there and just feel like I was totally enclosed. And so anyway, my development, like these things were always super natural for me. And I was very sensitive, probably because of trauma. So I always had to pick up on what other people were doing or going to say or to keep me safe. So I had to be hyper aware of my environment. And so your psychic powers kick in. And my first true knowing came from deep feeling. And I couldn't understand it when I was a child, but I could feel it and my whole body would become it. And it was very intense. So in my 20s, I had to learn to work with that. So it's a lifelong journey. But the fact that you even asked the question, like, how do we develop more of a relationship with spirit and even otherworldly realities, like the mushrooms, or whether it's in space or underground or whatever. It's like, if you're asking that question, if you're even here and listening to this conversation, then the alchemy is already happening inside of you. And my guess is that you have been on this journey for quite some time. It might even feel like a new phenomenon or a new inquiry or something, but usually that's not the case. In hindsight, sometimes after we go through certain things or we research and study new fields, we realize, oh, this led to this and this led to this. And I've been on this path, for what feels like forever. And there's got to be some kind of unraveling that happens, like kind of what we talked about with Renee. It's like there's, sometimes in order to have that full expression of love and to know who you are, you have to also know what you're not. And we have a lot of programming inside of us, society, parental, religious, so much that has told us what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, what's reality, what's not, what's real, what's imagined, even our whole definition around imagination. So just be patient with yourself and keep asking those questions from a soulful, heartfelt, embodied place of, teach me, guide me, lead me, awaken me. And then make sure you're also pausing to listen. If you are doing most of the talking, it's like off-gassing, which is sometimes we have to. And make sure you're also pausing. to receive and listen and hear those subtle energies. So I know I said a lot, but I feel like that's what wanted to come through me in this moment. And then Sarah, you look like you're not muted. So do you have something you'd like to share? I'd love for you to share. Are you there? Can you hear me? I don't know, maybe there's a bad connection. Okay, the voice isn't working on your part, Sarah. So you might just want to mute yourself or try to get that to work again. Maybe raise your hand and then I can call on you again. Anyone else have any feedback or anything they want to share in this moment, whether it's just personal reflection or a question?
I want to share something. So I have the deck and I'm really thankful for its creation, and it's really interesting because it feels like it's nature. Like it literally feels like the fungi are speaking and nature speaking directly. And it's really, like I get caught up in my mind so much, but the cards, whatever the message is, whatever space I'm in, they cut through the mind so well and integrate everything. It's like the messages are so clear. And they are just incredible. I'm just so thankful. So thank you for connecting with the fungi and sharing it with the world.
Thank you so much, Alexa. Can I just see with a show of hands real quick, how many of you have the mushroom deck? Nice. Wonderful. I'm curious if we could spice things up a little bit. And if one of you, Sarah says, I have the deck. Thank you, Sarah. I'm wondering if one of you who has the deck would mind picking somebody and doing a reading with the deck. I just like to showcase that I'm not the necessary component. You don't need me to do the reading, and that we all have this ability to tune in through our heart center and let the cards speak unbiased to ourselves and give a message not only to you, but also to somebody else. So is there any volunteers or anyone who has the deck that would mind shuffling the deck and offering someone a reading? I'm going to call on you. I know you know who it is. Yep. Vivian.
I have to go grab it. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Nicole,
I'm sorry, it's not where it's supposed to be.
Okay. Deep breath. Maybe you're going to be the receiver of the message. Let's see. Jocelyn, do you have the deck?
Yeah, so I was thinking you were going to call on me.
Oh.
And because I wanted to pull a card for Vivian.
Oh. Let's just, those of us who are holding a sacred space and witnessing, knowing that these messages also will connect to places inside of ourselves as well. And that even though Jocelyn and Vivian are being these instruments, we all get to be on the receiving end. So just take a moment to breathe in and out through your heart space and allow an openness to unfold within you to receive.
Can everyone see? Wild birch, maize gill.
White. Yep.
Oh, white. I can read.
But it's very wild.
Okay. So our 3 words: waiting, proof, and missing out. I already know this is perfect for Vivian.
For all of us.
And for all of us, of course. Okay, do not wait for thunder, a crash of something great, profound, loud, and clear to give you proof. Fun fact, we had thunder here this morning. Proof of your worth and purpose, or proof of your failures and insecurities. The spark you seek is under your feet. If you wait for thunder, it's like holding your breath or pausing life. Where are the subtle and not so subtle knocks at your feet? You can miss so much because you are looking for other things. Expand so you can include more.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
My pleasure.
It's funny how these cards are talking about what the stories that I'm sharing that correlate to the questions being asked, because I told you I was raised with more of a traditional Christian upbringing, and some of this stuff is taboo, like, oh, we don't talk about, this stuff, and you leave it for the priest. If you want to talk to God, you leave it for the priest. and so it creates this fear and like distrust, and we start, and remember we talked also about unplugging and not feeling connected to nature and the love, the full expression that's always here for us. So that separation, we get severed from our connection, which is our trust. And it's as if like we are afraid to imagine or afraid to, believe, oh, someone can heal you with your hands, or, our loving intention is such powerful medicine. And so we question so much. The analytical mind just is like proof, question. And again, like I talked about walking through the forest with my relationship with the fungi, I would walk past them. Like I would see them for a minute, but that was it. I didn't know they were life forms that I could actually form connection with. And think about that. Because our analytical minds are operating so much of the time, how much do we overlook? How much do we think we know? We're just caught up in, either what I think I know or I need the proof. It's like, I understand it, but we do miss a lot. And we also misjudge a lot. We misjudge a lot of things as evil and bad. And, I'm not telling you not to trust your internal guidance system. Definitely trust that. If something doesn't feel right inside of you, that's okay. Like, then know that there's something unraveling in you, or there's something being shown to you. Always trust that. And at the same time, sometimes we have to like get out of our trauma and get out of what we think we know and get out of the stories we've been told in the projections and really awaken to the curiosity of like, maybe there's more happening than I've ever been told. Maybe nothing really is what it seems. And a life of magic and mystery can awaken. So Vivian said, thank you, Jocelyn, for that reading. Deep breath, nuggets of wisdom in all of this. Anyone else have a hand that they want to raise? I'm feeling guided to another question, Allie.
Yeah, if no one else has one right now, I can read another one. So someone asked you, how do you embody the messages of the fungi and the natural realms?
So we breathe that in, right? You're asking from a soulful place. How do I? When you open yourself up, you're not really talking to me. Let's just speak very clear. We're always talking to ourselves, whether we call that our internal self, our higher self, our multi-dimensional self. And so like, how do I embody this wisdom? Well, now the journey can unfold inside of you. Now signs and synchronicities and things can show up and reveal in your environment, but also in your emotions and in your thoughts. and in your experiences that can guide you to, oh, that card. I am thinking of my mother, who she draws a card every morning. And she lives with my father, who he can be like, oh, those mushroom cards, Nicole, are really great. You know, like that's as much as he can say right now. He can't say the word oracle. And he won't, I don't think he touches them. But my mom has them right in her picnic basket, open on display in the kitchen where she always is. And every morning she draws a random card. And she's like, Nicole, every single day, I reflect the whole day on the one card. And I leave the one card I pick facing out. So I go past it a million times of the day. And I'm like, every day it's spot on. I'm like, how does it do that? And I'm like, well, that actually is what it's supposed to do. It's working the way life and nature is always working. This is our relationship to all of life. It's always happening. You don't just need a card to illuminate that, but sometimes it's fun and playful. They're pretty to look at and to play with, and they have inspirational messages and stuff. But everything, remember we talked about in that little mini meditation, whatever you sensed and noticed through you walking through the forest and entering into the sacred grove, the clearing, that was purposeful for you. Everything is divination. Everything is giving you signs and symbols and synchronicities to say, hey, are you paying attention? And then you could say, well, how does life know me better than I know myself? How does life know what I'm feeling and carrying and thinking about and what I need before maybe even I become conscious of it? And that's kind of what I also meant by talking about how did the fungi change me? How did my relationship to them change through the deck? It's that reciprocal love. They, all of life knows you probably even better than you know yourself. And it's like a vibration. You can't not feel the energy exchange. All of life is communicating through this vibrational energy exchange all the time. And how do I embody it is you are in a body. So you already are embodying this life, but you have to remember you can walk past things, go through life just barely noticing or not noticing at all. Or you can be like, oh, I'm having this experience in this body. This body is actually what's allowing me to have this experience. And so how do I embody the wisdom? Just by being conscious and being aware and saying, being open. And it's not like a magic wand. It's not like there you go, you're done. It's the journey of a lifetime. I mean, right? We're on the journey of a lifetime to know thyself. To know thyself in all its infinite forms. You know, these cards are like how to know thyself through the beautiful forms of the mushrooms. I love how the Amanita showed up when I said that. The key words, just so you can go along with me in my understanding, is ascension, receptor, and non-duality. We are all receptors. I remember my family took a bus trip around the US. We bought an old 1967 motor coach and fixed it into an RV, and we homeschooled our daughter. So we went for this trip, and we were on the top of Mount Shasta. And I'm sitting in this meditation, and I just kept hearing, you are a divine receptor. You are a divine receptor. And I couldn't shake it. I'm like, okay, already. Okay. I'm okay. That's okay. I get it. But I didn't get it. It was an intellectual understanding, and it didn't embody, and it took a long time. And the Amanita is so helpful in understanding. Your only job in life is to receive. You are given life. Can you receive your breath? Can you receive this moment? Can you receive the day, the food, the drinks, the arguments, the tension, the pain, the heartache, the sadness, the fear. Can you receive the joy, the love, the intimacy? Can you keep receiving? We spoke about the thunder. Can you receive the elements? Can you receive the love, like the first card? Love's full expression with the honey mushrooms. If you can finally drop down to your knees and know that you've always been worthy, you've always been loved, and finally exclaim, because there's no part of you that can't hold back anymore, and all your receptor is overflowing in all that has really truly been given and is constantly being given in every moment. And when you can drop down humbly and be like, okay, yes, and no longer fight and resist it, I promise you, more and more you're going to be embodying what the mushrooms have been teaching me. And it's about not segregating and cutting ourselves off from our divine inheritance, which is all of life, nature. It's our interconnection. It's the symbiotic relationship happening all the time. You are giving life and death all the time. And all of nature is doing that. It's symbiotic. It's this inner looping of life that supports the whole. You could not exist without this. For you to even think that you could ever be a separate entity and that you don't need anybody and you can do it all by yourself is nothing short than arrogance and ignorance. Learn about all the bacteria that live inside a single cell. Learn about all the bacteria that you were born into that have consciousness and actually control your diet and your cravings and your behaviors and your addictions. Learn about all of this and understand that what is in what we call the stars. They say there's mycelium and spores. The mushroom spores are in space and in rain. Some now are saying that rain is caused by it. There's so much fascinating, always discoveries. Who knows? But what's in the soil, what's in the trees, what's in you and me, what's in everything. It's infinite worlds and life forms. And you cannot create separation from that.
Thank you. That's so potent.
So I'm curious if I can open this up to, does anybody want me to offer a reading for them? You can just raise your physical hand. Yeah, Jody, thank you. I wanted to acknowledge you and say hello to you anyways, because you came in a little late and I didn't get a chance to say hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome to the space. So I would just encourage you to whether you feel comfortable to close your eyes or not, but just breathe in and out through your heart space a few times. You can even put one hand over your heart and one over your womb or your belly. And just breathe and allow energy to settle so that whatever needs to be bubbled up and bring forth to light has the space and the freedom to do so. And that is the space in which I will draw a card from. What does your heart most need to know in this moment? Well, it told me before I did it. It's the first card. So we talked about this with Renee as well. So this is the pinwheel, little tiny. If you can see, it's growing on a single leaf stem. Super tiny. Talk about walking past stuff and not noticing. So with just open expression, your palms maybe facing up and allowing yourself to receive. This too shall pass. Death and rebirth. Everything in life is short-lived. Each moment is an explosion of death and rebirth, simultaneously creating what we call life. Now is the time to give thanks for what is. Little tiny miracles are everywhere, revealing to us our delicate nature and our immortality. Enjoy this embodiment, precious one, for it too will pass. There can be so much heaviness and seriousness in the world. And these little tiny fungi, they show us these, like this said, the little tiny miracles of like what also, again, we can overlook. It's even when there's pain and suffering, there is sacredness. Even when we are carrying heartache and grief, there is sacredness. And I know it can be a hard pill to swallow, right? The mushroom said this is mushroom medicine. And I know it confused a lot of people because psilocybin became really big and everyone's wanting to talk about it. But medicine is how we engage with all of life. We are always either ingesting poison or medicine with our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our beliefs, everything. Because we're energetic creatures. And it's this humility that says, even in my pain, even in anything that I could be going through, this is sacred and I'm loved. And I'm on holy ground, even now. Yes. But you got to look out for those little tiny things, the things that maybe, when we have a pain and problems, those are big. Those are like, hey, look at me. And then we can forget that through what we call death, even symbolic or literal, it's already the beginning of life, of rebirth. I love how it's like a pinwheel, right? So is there anything, did that touch upon anything, Jody? You can either speak or type something in. Or.
That was very kind of you, thank you. Yeah, it is. There's been some endings recently, so yeah, I've had to fight through the pain and just see it as a new beginning, I think.
Yeah, and again, it's like honor the death too, right? So yeah, fighting our way through is like maybe humble and stop fighting and receive. So remember, we're a divine receptor, so receive the pain. I know it seems contradictory to breathe the pain into our bodies. We want to push it away. But if you can allow, it's already here. So you're not creating it. It's like, it's already here. So can I accept that this pain is here? Yes, you already are. You don't have a choice. And then you're like, and what else is here that maybe I'm overlooking and missing?
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, sending you so much love, Jody.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable and showing up and letting us connect. So we have about 5 minutes, everybody. I want to thank you. Is there any questions, any feedback? Anybody want to unmute themselves and just connect for a moment?
I just want to say something. I'm going to have to hop off in a minute because I have a call at 11. But I've never purchased any kind of oracle decks in the past. And when Nicole brought out hers, it's kind of just a message just in general for everyone. And also, anyone watching this recording whenever it goes live. and also for you, Nicole, like I don't necessarily practice this kind of thing. Maybe I'm more like on your mom and your dad's side, where I'm like, I'm not sure I 100% trust, you know, just a deck I'll find in a store, and maybe it's pretty and so on, but I don't buy them generally. And I felt like this one was just, I mean, I know you, of course, also personally, and it just came from such integrity, which I think we can see in this, you know, we could see in this last hour, such integrity and such love, that I knew I could 100% trust when I do draw a card, or, you know, even if I'm just looking through it, there's just so much wisdom in there, and so much just enormous value. And like you said, I don't even remember now what I was going to say about that, but yeah, I just want to thank you for creating this, thank the mushrooms for their messages through you. And it's a really treasured, even though I couldn't find it just now, it's a very treasured part of my the things that I own of my life. And I just want to acknowledge how much love you have put in, and how authentic and how much integrity is in them. So thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, so much. And what like, I know it's non-traditional. Like, you don't have to love playing with divination and oracle, and you don't have to have any religious or spiritual beliefs. You can be an atheist. You can, you know, Lisa said ditto on everything Vivian said. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it goes past, that's what the mushrooms do. They will unravel all the places that you are not. And wherever you're holding yourself back through dogmatic thinking and beliefs, they're going to have to work through that too. They decompose. They're the great recyclers. And how they do that is to keep containing and bringing forth new life. They do it in our bodies. They do it in our world. And they do it in our consciousness as well. Just a couple more minutes. I'm going to draw a final card. Is there anyone else that wants to say anything?
I just want to thank you, Nicole. I can't say it any better, as Vivian said, but just thank you for sharing your wisdom with all of us today. And clearly your deck has touched so many people's lives already, and so many yet to come. And so thank you and the mushrooms, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Allie.
Thank you very much for hosting. And I'm so grateful to know you and to have known you all the years ago that we met. We were teen moms together in a nursery with our babies at school. You and I, Nicole, my love. And I just love the fact that that's an amazing story that I have, and I hold you so dearly to my heart. And these cards touch my soul. So thank you, sweet friend. I love you.
I will never forget, Renee. We have such a beautiful intertwining story, and just such a miracle. Life is such a miracle. So again, I think what Renee was illuminating is, you know, you don't know where life is going to take you. I never was told I was going to create a mushroom oracle deck. Never was told I was going to create an oracle deck. That was never my intention. That was never my dream or goal. Sometimes things like little breadcrumbs, they lead us on our path, and little things are born and other things die. And you just have to know to trust and follow those breadcrumbs and nudges and hunches, and to trust yourself to go on the journey. But yeah, even through our pain, right? The first thing right on the mushroom cards and on the booklet is, this is a rite of passage, which is something lacking in our world. So this is a rite of passage through transition, grief, transformation, back into connection, integration, and wholeness. And it took me going through all sorts of trauma and pain and then even when you are not in the trauma anymore, there's your work. Now you got to go through the years and years and years and layers and layers and layers of integration and transformation. You know, it's like when there's a crisis or trauma, that's one thing we got to get through. But then welcome to the layers of the healing journey that unravel from that. And there's so much wisdom. Like I was just sharing with Jody, breathe the pain in because they are messengers. They're not here to destroy you in the way that you think they are. They're here to bring you back to wholeness. So with that, I am going to say a farewell with the mushrooms and say, what's their final message? Ooh, it's the last card in the deck. Oh. So this is one of my favorites. So it's Old Man in the Woods. So you see it kind of prickly. So this is a treasure to find for me in the forest. They're just super fun and magical. But the key words are change, shadow, and light. Notice the small, ordinary steps and details. Embrace the light and dark qualities of yourself. I love how these cards are playing off of what we already spoke of. Change inevitably unfolds. So we affirm, I stand, I reacclimate. My bones crack and I release their posture. I become fluid and easeful with my changing structure and body. I am excited about the many forms and changes that I will encounter while being exactly as I naturally am. If somebody would have told me that I would be doing this, it doesn't even make sense because it just wasn't in my awareness. But then as soon as I did all the work and it was basically created, and then I was like, oh, and now this is an oracle deck. I was like, oh my God, of course it is. So it like hit like that knowingness hit so deep inside of me, like, of course that's what I've been doing, but I didn't know I was doing it. And like Renee shared about, I was a teenage, mom and going through all that. And it's like, any place inside of you that you might be carrying shame or embarrassment and you don't want to talk about, we all have those places. And it's like, no, this is gold. This is how we show up and help other people. This is what blossoms in this beautiful garden of our beingness. And so you embrace the light and the dark and you create wholeness and know that there is wisdom and medicine in all these places and they're all sacred. There's no place that the mushrooms won't weave their medicine and magic in your life to bring you back into wholeness. So thank you all so much for showing up today and coming into the Sacred Grove. And remember to walk back through the forest and smell and taste and experience the magic before going about your day and your weekend and coming back into this non-virtual reality. But thank you for joining me in this virtual reality for this hour. All my love and blessings. I'm going to close out the recording, and anyone that wants to stay can.
Nicole, we lost your face. Oh, there you are.